So, we're heading into the very last panel of the day, and it's been a fantastic day, and it's been a long day, and the day has been filled with reflections on this important matter, I would say, of Sami representation in these big, large-scale international projects as the European Capital of Culture. I just want to ask you, first of all, I know, because you've been here the whole day, do you have some, grab a mic. Do you have some kind of initial thoughts from what you've been hearing today?
What a complex and difficult question. I think there's a lot of learning to do. I think it's really important to talk about expectations in beforehand. Because I think when we got the presentation, both from Umeå 214 and also Bodø, things happen during the process and also when the project is ongoing. And to start beforehand to have a way to handle problems and to adapt. So I think that's something we really have to think about.
In the process leading up to
so we don't get so surprised, because there will always be challenges and problems. But we can overwin it if we are prepared.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, because you are all representing, as I said, governing bodies and funding bodies of different kinds, and you have listened in to the discussion today, and I want to start with a very obvious question in a way to all of you. Is large-scale, non-indigenous-led cultural projects in indigenous areas on indigenous land a good idea? Anne Vålav, you can start from the Sami Council.
Oh, thank you. I think that the answer have to be no.
No?
Yes.
Please elaborate on that.
Because I think if you look at the cultural capital, like in Umeå and Bodø, I think that by the cooperation with the Sami artists and also the Sami influencers or the decision makers, without them, I don't know what kind of indigenous culture will be presented. That's the one. But the second is that indigenous culture institution and artists actually are artists. They have knowledge. They also know what art is. It's not like they are like a child. They don't know anything. And I think when you come to culture or art, there is a principle, the freedom of making art. I think that also should include indigenous people. And we live in this area. We're not going anywhere. We don't have another home to go to. So I think that we should be there and make the art in cooperation. And somehow, they always used to say that Sami is a young nation. I'm not that sure. I'm not sure that's true. I think like the literature history that we have is quite old, same age as the Swedish, actually. And that also means that we have a lot of stories to tell. We have experiences. And I think that the last year, when the Sami artists win all kind of awards, are presented all around the world, tells that we are also a part of the world, and our histories and our art is important and interesting.
And you mean these perspectives are impossible to incorporate in the European Capital of Culture program or framework?
Without the indigenous people, yes. They need to be there. I don't know. How do you make a Swedish pavilion without Swedes there? No one asked that question.
Thank you. We're moving on to the Sami Parliament, and speaking of this, again, I'm curious about why the Sami Parliament didn't support the application for Giron 2029. And can you elaborate a little bit about the kind of discussions in the Sami Parliament about the kind of status and the effects of the European Capital of Culture?
I haven't been a part of that discussion because it's they have talked about it higher up. And, you know, I'm just in the culture committee, but I must reflect about the last panel. I can't let it go. What P.O. said about the Sami hate in Giron, it makes me sad. Also, it makes it take in my heart. And then I was in Inari last autumn, and then I met a lot of Sami artists, the top of Nox, and then we talk about the cooperation between all the parts of Sápmi is very important. So the right way to go must be to blur out the borders and have one Sápmi instead of 3 Sápmis. And then when you are cooperate, it will be easier, even with the culture and so on. But about this Giron, I cannot give you an answer.
But from the Cultural Committee's point of view and your personal point of view, are you hoping that Giron will be the next, or not the next, but the European Capital of Culture for 2029?
If you ask me personally, not like a politician, yes.
Okay. I want to move on to Amanda Lind, representing, of course, an outsider's view on these matters, and also the Parliament, and living in Stockholm, I presume? No.
No, I live in Härnösand.
Yeah, because you have trains in this country, so it's possible.
Yeah, I know, it's possible.
Wonderful concept. Only heard about it. But I want to ask you, from your perspective, from the Parliament's perspective, also the Cultural Committee in the Parliament, how do you see the role of the European Capitals of Culture? And has there been like any discourse development concerning the fact that these Arctic Capitals of Culture are actually on Sami land?
I would say quite little discussion, and I believe that this is a problem in general when it comes to the international perspective in the cultural field. That's something that is quite little recognition from the Swedish, both the Swedish Parliament and also from my experience when I was the Minister of Culture. Perhaps we see a slight change in that now because of the world, the situation, the pandemic that made us look beyond our own borders, perhaps a little bit more, and now the security situation, of course, and the measures taken that perhaps I believe that we have to realize in Sweden that sometimes we have a picture that we are doing things so very well, we're so far forward in every political area. It's not like that. We have so much to learn, not least when it comes to indigenous people, policy for indigenous people, and the culture policy also. When it was the culture capital city in Umeå, I was a local politician in Härnösand, and for me it was like totally clear that, of course, you have to have a Sami perspective, an indigenous people perspective, when you're arranging a cultural capital city in Sápmi. But also, if you arrange it in every city in Sweden, I mean, the Sami people is also an indigenous people in Sweden. So I believe it's important to have that perspective. And just a couple of days ago, I talked about group development. And you know that they are saying that if you want to build trust within a group, then it's not enough to just talk about trust and talk about, you can trust me, and say it. You have to show it. You have to work and you have to do things together, collaborate. Concrete projects, concrete results. And that is a possibility, of course, with these big meetings, that you can produce results and work together, but then you have to do it, and you have to have an ambition to do it from the start, is my opinion.
And as you see it, do the European capitals of culture effectively, or can they effectively challenge colonial narratives and stereotypes about indigenous people, or do they perpetuate them?
It's not my role to evaluate that. I think that you have to have the ambition to do that, of course. But then you have to have this collaborate ambition from the start. You cannot just put it like a perspective in the end and hope that it will become those results. And I would also, one thing I have been thinking about is the lack of public funding when it comes to the cultural structure for the Sami people in general. That is perhaps a little, warning flag. If you are making these big happenings, that would be the most important or the biggest financial thing you're doing from the state budget. That is not good. I think that you have to. I think it's good with these kind of summits and gatherings and years, but what is most important is the long-term structural funding that has to rise. And if you're not working on that part, then I believe that these kind of capital years will be like I don't know the word in English, slag I luften, if you understand what I'm saying.
Thank you, Amanda. And moving on to Veronica and the Swedish Arts Council. And speaking of also these long-term effects that Amanda's talking about, as the Swedish Arts Council is you assess a lot of course, applications, projects, and you probably also have mechanisms to kind of measure the effects and the long-term effects and so on and so forth. From an Arts Council perspective, how do you see the kind of efficiency in a long-term perspective of the European capitals of culture, especially, of course, Umeå 2014?
I would say that the presentations we got today actually testify that there are effects and impact on society. I was struck by the presentation and when they said that when they started the process 2005, most people in Umeå did not recognize this as Sápmi. But today, I think it's obvious that everybody do. So I would say that there's definitely impact and results to be seen. And from our perspective, the Swedish Arts Council has the role of coordinator for these European years. So we will be a part of the selection process. We don't do the selection because there's an international jury. We will, of course, be a part of monitoring it and following up.
And speaking of that, because I also really want to talk about kind of an overview of also Swedish Sami cultural policy making, which is what we're talking about today, in the framework of these European capitals of culture. Because I'm wondering, Linda talked about it, and we have talked about it earlier today also, that Sweden has not ratified the ILO Convention number 169 that Norway and a lot of other countries have done. But Sweden has approved the UN Declaration on the indigenous rights. And from your kind of perspective, and also from a kind of governing point of view, Amanda, so you can prepare to answer the same question, how is this declaration on indigenous rights and those perspectives concerning the Sami rights, are they visible or reflected in your funding structure, the way you think regarding coordinating large projects as the European Capital of Culture?
I would say yes. I would say it's embedded in our mission. We have the cultural political objectives in Sweden, and I would say they include that kind of perspective. So yes, then we have specific assignments as well in relation to national minorities and the Sami people. So even without ratifying it, it's I would say we have the framework to work to support the rights.
And
yes.
Is it used? How is
yes, it is used.
You know, how is it affecting the work you do when you prioritize, when you assess, when you follow up, and when you coordinate?
It's a priority in all fund giving to both within the funding, within the applications, the different programs. Sami culture and culture from national minorities is a huge priority. One of the biggest problems is that we don't get applications. We talked to Sami Parliament about this, how to spread knowledge about the different funding programs we have. That's one thing. We have specific programs directed to Sami people and national minorities, and then within everything we do in the core mission, we advocate the question all the time.
Good to hear. And just
we can do more, of course. There's always more to be done. We wouldn't be here, I suppose, if not. But
just out of curiosity, because this is, of course, a matter I know a bit of, being a part of the Norwegian Arts Council for many years. And you say you don't get too many Sami applications. I just have to ask you: is it possible to send in an application in Sami language?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It will be translated.
Yes.
Wonderful. Have any Sami stakeholders or experts been a part of creating the kind of shared structure of your funding system?
No, I don't think so, no.
Are any programs that you present, do they reflect Sami artistic practices, multidisciplinary practices? Do you see where I'm heading?
Yeah, nice of you to ask. Right now we are doing a survey of all our programs, and one of the I would say objectives is to make it possible to receive multidisciplinary applications. We see that it's totally necessary. So in a couple of years, I would say the programs will look quite different. Yes, and I think that would benefit not only Sami applications, but I think arts and culture and the development of it nationwide. I
do agree with you. Just the reason I'm nagging about this is the fact that we so often hear that there are so few Sami applications, yes. And I kind of want to turn the question around, and we have to ask, why is that? It might be that the systems, the funding structures and the programs are not suiting Sami artists and Sami practices.
And I would say that our dialogue with Sami Parliament have been, well, at least one of the reasons that this change will take place. There's a lot of reasons, but it's been one of the influences, yes.
That's very good. That's very good to hear. And back on track with the indigenous rights, Amanda Lind, I just want to, as I said, ask you as well, how can we see the kind of UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights and the the Swedish, how can we see the Swedish implementation of that in the cultural policy making? Or can we?
Yeah, can we? I can say when I was Minister for Culture and also for the policy for the Sami people, we worked with like strengthening the funding systems and the economy, and we implemented the act of consultation, for an example. We tried to move forward with these issues, and for me it's so clear that you cannot talk about Sami culture and not talk about Sami rights. It's a part of the same package. When we got this critique, Sweden got the critique from the UN committee a couple of days ago. I actually yesterday asked the Minister of Culture in the Parliament how she saw about this critique on the act of consultation and how they are working to meet these critics. And then she answered, perhaps it was a very short time. She had like 1 minute to answer, so it was not a long time. But she mixed in her answer the policy for indigenous people and the policy for minority groups. And that is a big problem, I think, that this is mixed up in general. I'm aware of that, but I don't think that every policymaker in the parliament are aware of that. And when the responsible minister are mixing these things up, I'm a little bit concerned, because then I don't think that you take this right issue with that amount of dignity that you have to do. I mean, when you look at the Swedish fundings and the amount of money that you put on the Sami culture, it's too little when you compare to other countries in Sápmi. So, I mean, we have to do more. With that said, I think we have pushed forward the borders a little bit, but it's so much to do. And I would say that it's good to hear the Culture Council that how you're working, but I think that one thing we should look more to is the structure, the institutions within the Sami cultural field. How can you strengthen the structure and the institutions? Because when it comes to the free artists and the free groups, it's like an ecosystem that works together.
Yes.
So one thing that I have worked for is to the Giron Sami Theater to be like this, get this national mission to work as a national stage, and that would perhaps be one part to strengthen the system, and can also in the long term results in more people application from your supporting systems.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Strengthening the structures and the infrastructure of the Sami arts and culture field is a key, I think. We are getting very close to the end, and I want to specifically ask you as the last question for all of you, being representatives of governmental and funding bodies, how will you be enablers of change and strengthening enablers of that can strengthen the Sami self-determination in the arts and cultural field? And in that sense, I also want to mention the Canada Council for the Arts that we talked about earlier today with our Canadian friends and colleagues, how they have so very substantially changed their kind of advocacy and their funding system, but it was done through these enablers that saw the need for a structural and substantial change. To start with the Samiradi, the Sami Council, how will you work in the years to come towards kind of a change of the premises for development and the presence and the representation of Sami arts and culture? Oh. Very small question to end with.
I think that the Sami, if you think about culture as art in that matter, then I think that the art and the artists are based on a very holistic way of living. So it's not like you are disconnected to the art. You are like living and working with the art. And I think it's also in that matter also a local thing or a community thing. You were talking about the ecosystem. I think that was a very good description of how Sami artists or culture actually is. And they are connected together in all these countries. And I especially was glad that you said that we need to strengthen the institution, because we need the institution with muscles who actually can be home for all the artists. But when that is said, I have tried to ask this question in Sweden, and I might not be popular if I ask them again. But how many Sami institutions get funding directly from the state budget? I haven't got the answer yet. And they used to tell me that one who actually get it is Aichte Museum. And Aichte Museum, in my opinion, is not a Sami institution yet. They have the ambition. So I've been trying to find the Sami institution in the state budget. So I think the day that you start to support this kind of establishment, then you will have the infrastructure who can actually also capacity build Sami. And we will be good partners for big events, commercial events, small events, and in Sami, creative, what is it called? Kreativ näring, I don't know the English.
Creative industries.
Yes, is the one that's actually increasing.
The most.
Yes. And this is not like, oh, we are artists. I think this has been a part of our lives for so long. So I can't answer you the question more than that.
But that's a very good answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to say something. I don't know about the numbers, but I want to give you the numbers just to illustrate. It's not the actual numbers, but I was told by the one who's been working with Kultur Sami, just to illustrate how the fundings in Norway, Sweden, and Finland actually is. In Norway, they have 150 million. Say it's 150 million for Sami culture. In Sweden, 80 million. And in Finland,
18, not
18.
80.
18, yes. And in Finland, 3 millions. That means that this, of course, is obstacles for the Sami artists. And one of the obstacles, I think that this institution always get to answer is that if you are close to the border, there is some Swedish or Norwegian funder who says, no, we can't pay for that. So I was thinking, Ola Guttorm, when he was talking about the festival, and you know they're inviting all Sami, it's very common that we do that. So I think the structural changes and also the funding for the institution is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you. And a wonderful panel and wonderful friends. We are running out of time. We could have continued this conversation for a very long time. But I will let the Arts Council, with their national mandate to fund and coordinate also the Sami arts field, to end this with the same question I asked Amanda. How will you be an enabler for change? And how will we see it in the years to come?
The Arts Council will continue to describe the need for funding. We do that in our yearly budget request. We did this this year. We see the need for both money to projects, but also long-term operational grants. So this is something we will continue to do. We will continue with consultation and dialogue with Sami organizations and Sami Parliament. The need to build our own knowledge is important. And of course, we will continue with promoting Sami the Sami situation and the need to support Sami culture in our regular mission.
Wonderful. We will follow up on that.
You're welcome.
And to the very, very last question to the Sami Parliament, I just want a number. Anna just said that the cultural budget to the Sami Parliament in Sweden is today approximately, it's like 17.8 million, isn't it? Swedish, and it's Swedish kroner. Just so. In Norway, almost 150 million. Have you ever done the math to see how much would you need to actually build real capacity in the Sami arts field and strengthen the institutions that you have today? What is the number? What you need?
Number of... I get jealous when I heard about the Norwegian economy. And I think we would need 3 times more
than you have today.
Yeah. To help all culture.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to meet the government's committee in May. Then we can get some more money.
And I think approximately 60 million is a good place to start. So Amanda will take that number with her back to Stockholm.
But hello, I think we have to take small steps. But 60 million is a little step.
That's the thing.
We need more than 60 million. And there is it is a lot of culture artists now in Sweden. They are depending to be more and more and more, and the same money. It will not follow the index. No inflation. It's frozen in 17.8 million. Yeah. It's totally frozen, and it's only beans for. Oh,
I know, and that's the last word. But our last thought of today is to bring that 60 million home to Sápmi here in Sweden. And yes, and good people. Thank you so much for today. It's been a fantastic day. Very important discussions on these large-scale, non-indigenous-led cultural projects. Thank you to Amanda, Anne, Stefan, and Veronica. We have a plane to catch, some of us, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me and letting me having this honor of guiding you through this day. And I will now give the word to the producers, Mikael and Maya, to finish up this summit. So thank you so much.